as ever, polyvagal theory is the one that is currently very useful to know. I'm going to be making that really potted down for you today so that you can understand exactly what we're talking about. As you know, I like to make the very complicated very, very simple and very usable, very applicable straight away for you. That's my superpower, is taking something that can be very dry and dusty, putting the fun into functional psychology. So I'm going to be introducing this subject of why do we procrastinate, and then telling you exactly how to stop it. So let me know if that sounds good to you, because to me, this was one of the big pieces in my puzzle of building a business. So my first business that I built to 6 figures was in the City of London back in 2001. And when I was in that zone of the city worlds and those markets, I had no idea that I would go on to get a degree in neurology. I had no idea that I would end up at Cambridge University studying the brain, but I did. And the things that I learned in the city, I then proved why they worked when I did my degree. So I've done it backwards, guys. I've not done this perhaps the correct way around that everyone else does things. So go to school, learn stuff, and then go out and apply it. But I've gone back into science and found why my methods were successful. I've then done it again. I'm now on, I think it's my 3rd 6-figure business. I'm now at multiple 6 figures and it's going really great. And I can tell you this stuff works. So without further ado, let's get going. I'm going to talk to you about safety first. Safety first. Let's go health and safety. What do we mean by safety? Because we used to make it mean something very different than what we do these days. Safety of self is so important. We have all felt incredibly unsafe over the last 2 years. And look what happened. The great toilet roll famine of March 2020, when people felt so unsafe about wiping their own bottoms, they went and bulk bought all the toilet roll, and then they bought all the pasta, and then they bought all the flour in case they had to make their own bread. People act differently when they feel unsafe. That's point number 1. You act differently when you feel unsafe. When you feel unsafe, you go into what we call resilience behaviours, coping strategies. Now, here's the thing. Resilience shouldn't have to be used. We shouldn't have to roll out our resilience. A lot of companies these days are hiring in people to come and train their teams in being more resilient. Why? Because everyone is feeling quite unsafe. When we feel unsafe, we behave in a very different way. I'm going to put up some slides in a minute and show you some of these things in graphic form. I want to talk to you first. Why? Because we've got to imagine that we're having a conversation here. We've got to feel like we're in the same room for this to impact you. Otherwise, I'm just a talking puppet head in the corner of your living room or your dining room or your bedroom or wherever you're listening to me from, be that Germany or Vietnam or Suffolk, as we've seen our beautiful multicultural audience today. I'm just a talking puppet, and you will get nothing from this. I can tell you that now. You've bothered to give me your eyeballs. I want to give you good value for that. That's what I always do. I always give amazing value in any of my sessions. Why? Because I don't just deliver information. I deliver integration. That is a massive difference. You will learn 3 times more from me than you will from other trainers, because I integrate it into your nervous system. To do that, you've got to feel something. You've got to feel some emotion. If we're all sat back and we're just like, very little actually goes in. Very little will be taken away, and very little will be able to be implemented by you. So when I ask you to do something, when I ask you to comment, well done to those that have already joined in doing that and that know me already. I'm doing that to integrate things for you. Why? Because as soon as you move, as soon as you act, it becomes more than just information. So I urge you now, take notes. Please take notes. Please write down words that jump out. Put boxes around them. Put arrows to them. Put lines to them. Why? Because doing so changes your knowledge and integration. We're going for both here. So let's go. What are we talking about? We are talking about the way of safety in the body, how it's held in the body. So I'm going to flash up some slide deck from a presentation that I did just last week, and this is a presentation that was to College of Animal Welfare, and I was asked to speak on confidence in leadership, which is a massive subject. And I always have to choose what I focus on. I always have to choose, where do I start? How do I get people to be better leaders? How do I get them to be bigger and better at the job of looking at people? So I hope you can see my screen here, and you can see my little notes underneath that. I'm showing you my behind the scenes view here, because the brain itself has places where safety lives. When we feel distrustful of someone as a leader, as a manager, as a boss, we behave in a very different way because a different part of our brain is activated. A different part of our brain is suddenly under play. So when the amygdala kicks in, you will know what I mean. And I want you just to imagine this now. When your amygdala kicks in, that's your fight or flight responses. Your heart beats faster, your breathing gets jerky, you feel that horrible churning feeling of butterflies in your tummy, your vision gets very narrowed because you're trying to judge, is that saber-toothed tiger leaping at me? You're judging for your life, literally. Your safety is threatened, that part of your brain kicks in, it changes the blood flow in your brain. You don't think the same way. You lose blood to this area, the prefrontal cortex, which we know is the part of dopamine, that part where you are rationally thinking about achievement. So guess what? If you're living in amygdala hijack, how successful do you think you're going to be in your business? Not so much. Not so much. Because you haven't got the same blood flow going on. You won't be able to make the same decisions. You'll be panic buying toilet roll all over the place. That's what happens. So you will make decisions about, I'll buy this course out of fear. I'll hire this coach out of sheer terror that this is all going to go wrong. That is not where I want to help people. I don't want people that are fearful. I want people that are standing in their own power, that are self-led, that know they're ready to take action. That's who I work with. That's the sort of coach that I am. I don't sell from scarcity. So you will see my sales tactics are very different from other coaches because I don't make you feel crappy about your life first. I try and build you up. I try and build you to a position of power because then I can help you move even faster. We can then quantum leap together. That's what I love working with. So I work from trust-based processes, and that's because I've done a lot of research into this polyvagal theory and about where the brain is most successful. My clients get amazing success. Why? Because they're already in the trust cortex of their brain. How cool is that? How cool do you think that would be to apply to your business? Yeah, you bet your boots. But how does this apply to you? Because we're here today to talk about procrastination. What do we mean by corticocentric? We're talking about a difference of chemistry here. And again, I make it very simple. You only need to know this bit. You don't need to know anything else about the brain. These drugs over here are the drugs that make your heart beat faster. These are the drugs that narrow your field of vision. These are the drugs that make you fearful. We are trained to run away from fear. We are trained to avoid fear. Why? Because fear is a sign that we might die, right? Kind of important. So we're trained to move away from this drug cocktail. So when we procrastinate, here's a clue. Guess which cocktails you're usually running? Yeah, avoidance behavior cocktails. You are trying to avoid feeling scared. The more we can make you feel safe and trust yourself, everything comes from self, right? It's never about the money. It's always about how much do I trust myself to hold this situation that I'm in. We bring in the fear and we bring in money fears, and I talk a lot about limiting beliefs around money. I'm doing something for you guys on that. I think in 2 months' time, Duncan will tell me. But we need to instead move to this cocktail of drugs. This is the cool stuff. This makes you feel amazing. So why do I ask you to have a conversation with me when we start? Because I'm trying to get you guys to move into oxytocin. I want to connect with you. I want to connect with you because when I connect, when we're having a relationship here, when we're not just a talking puppet head on a screen, your brain works differently. You will learn more from me. You will absorb more. You'll get serotonin and GABA, which give you a massive payoff in your brain biochemistry. You'll get that dopamine, which gives you a huge sense of achievement when you survive a session with me. So we like these drugs. We like these happy hormones. They make you feel brilliant. They make you feel brilliant. So it's much more useful for you to be here. And guess what happens as well? The brain changes the way it thinks. The amygdala and the limbic have no language attached. They're just feeling. That feeling. They're not a pleasant feeling. And that's why we very often don't name them. Brené Brown uses the word shame a lot. We have a lot of feelings of shame when we don't do something. Procrastination is one of the biggest reasons where I get people saying to me, I just feel so stupid. I know what to do. Why am I not doing it? Well, here's the thing, guys. Be very blunt here. There is a big difference between knowing what to do and doing what you know. The work that I do closes that gap very successfully because you can know what to do all day long. You just won't do it unless you feel like it. You're not lazy. You're not stupid. You just don't, quote unquote, feel like it. Now let's talk a bit more about that. Let's talk a bit more about what that feeling actually looks like. Greetings, Peter, from South Africa. Look, we're crossing all the continents here. We're going all over the place today. This is good. This is good. And again, thank you guys for coming into this room, for sharing this conversation with me. This is a really important conversation to have, because what I want to do, what I'm passionate about and what I live for, is connecting people back into their body. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? My brand is called Tame Your Brain. My brand is called Tame Your Brain. What do I mean by tame it? I mean, remember, it's attached to you. We get so up in our heads, don't we? We get so overwhelmed by overthinking, by overplanning. Who here has done an amazing timetable for your business and then followed through on precisely none of them? Yeah, we all do that. I'm currently about 3 months behind on my timeline because I needed to pause and I listened to my body and I did that. I'm going to teach you how to do the same. Hi, Kathy from the US. Look, we're going everywhere. I'm loving today. Loving today. So let's talk about why this safety feeling has been minimized. It's a bit historic. And it's because in the 60s, we went so far the other way. We went what we call corticocentric. We went top down. We started thinking about mental processes. We started thinking about cognitive pathways. You might have heard the term cognitive neuroscience. That became the pop thing that everyone did. And so everyone was thinking about thinking. Along the way, they forgot how to feel. They forgot how to listen to your own body. We started seeing lots of signs of burnout as a result. There was a massive trend of people getting absolutely ragged. I did it myself. I stopped listening to my body to the extent that I ended up in hospital with pneumonia. Like ridiculous levels of not listening to your body. Guess how many times I did it? Because I wasn't that bright. 3 times I did that. 3 separate visits to hospital with pneumonia when I lost connection with what my body was telling me. And I went into huge avoidance behaviours because I was in so much pain mentally. Because I'd kept telling myself that it was all about, you know, if you can just sort your mind out, if I can just sort out my map, if I can just sort out my strategy, all of it was a very masculine, a very linear pathway. I was surrounded in the city by lots of very masculine role models. All the females were masculine too. So I ended up in a very masculine mindset, which is you keep going and you don't quit. Now, I've learned to blend my masculine with my feminine, and I've learned to, and this applies to you guys in the room as well, you know, we have to run both. We have to run the intuitive emotional alongside the linear achievement drive. And if you identify as something other than the binary definitions we have, the words masculine and feminine might not feel comfortable to you, but they're descriptors that I use to typify 2 styles of working and 2 styles of thinking that are known as masculine and feminine. So apologies if that doesn't quite fit with you. That's my terminology based on my lived experience. So that's what I use when I'm describing business mindset. So we start to get to this point where we realize we've got to reconnect. We've got to reconnect the wires. We've got to start listening to this psychophysiology, which is the link of what's happening in the body to what's happening in the mind. So how do we do that? It's all about alignment. So we've disconnected this feeling of safety of mind and body. We need to realign them. Now, in the bad old days, we used to do lots of experiments on animals where we deprived food and then gave food to see about how that affected motivation. We used to look at how they responded physiologically. I'm going to teach you a different way today. So I'm going to ping up a slide again as we talk through this. So those of you just joining us, welcome from Angola, from Gelson. Oh, I like this. This is good. And we just got Shirley. Hi, Shirley, from all the way on the other side of the world. Lovely to see you today. So I'm just going to ping up a share again to just get this bit really, really understood in our brains. Now, I use this slide all the time because I love it. It makes me feel happy in my heart when it comes up on screen. It's about the understanding that how you see yourself in your head. In my head, this is me, right? And in my head, I'd love to be her. And I wish I was her. I'm not her. But in my head, the picture I've got of myself is, the map in my head is not the same as the terrain under my feet. So I put it to you, the reason you're procrastinating might not be what you think it is. We're going to dive into that today. Be prepared to be brutally honest with yourself, because it might surprise you as to why you're procrastinating. And I'm going to ask you to give yourself permission to be really honest with yourself and just be curious about what you might find with no filter, no judgment. Because it's okay to hold a very rosy picture of yourself. What's daft is if you live the rest of your life thinking that's all there is. So whilst in my head I look like this, I know that I'm probably about 3 stone heavier these days. And I don't have a white horse or blonde hair. But anyway, so what we're talking about is what's your flow state? What is your profile type around you and your brain and your thinking style doing to the way that you work? How effective are you being in accordance with your profile? So I'm going to go quite quickly now as I whip through these slides, just to give you this flavour before we start deep diving into the 4 profile types. Here's the thing. We like to think we get results from our ability. That is unfortunately not true. The results come from the actions we take, but the actions only happen from the emotions we feel. I'm going to explain that because that's quite a big statement to make. The action only comes from the emotion we feel. And the emotion only comes from what we are thinking. So let me give you an example. And I'm using a picture that I use a lot. Again, I love this one. We only know what we think we know. Your beliefs are creating your reality. You know what you think you see there. And as I change this picture to the next shot in this series, did you imagine that that could possibly ever be a fork? Yeah, if you've worked with me before, you know this picture by now. But if you haven't worked with me yet, there's no way your brain would have come up with the word fork in conjunction with this picture because it doesn't fit, right? We don't put cake forks into our cups of tea in Britain. And I drink a lot of tea. I can tell you, this is my spiritual home. I sit here drinking tea all day long. And when we drink tea, we know what we expect to see with that, right? We expect to see a spoon. It's only now where we take it out of the opaque liquid that we can tell that it's not. And I want you to think about your brain as being like the surface level of that tea. You don't know what's under the surface because you think you know. You saw a spoon based on what you thought you knew. You think you know why you procrastinate. I challenge you, it might not be what you think. So just come at this with an open mind. Because things only have the meaning we give them. The meaning we give things is applied by us and it's based on our beliefs. So if you are sat in your chair and you're relaxed and you're drinking your tea, or if it's after 8:30 p.m. and it's past the yard arm, it might turn into a gin and tonic or a glass of wine, and you know yourself to be in the house with your spouse, your partner, your cats. If you hear footsteps upstairs, the meaning you apply to that is mundane. It's safe. You feel safe. Your body therefore reacts in a physiologically safe way. You will sip your tea. You will watch your Netflix. You will read your book. Now flip the switch. Now imagine you know yourself to be alone in the house. Imagine you hear that same auditory stimulus, same input, same footsteps, but you know you're alone in the house. What happens now? Instant ninja. Throw yourself out of the chair. Throw yourself across the room. Gin and tonic goes flying. Grab the baseball bat. Dial 999. Your actions become incredibly different when you feel unsafe. Your actions become incredibly different when you feel unsafe. I hope this is beginning to come together for you. Your certainty is what makes your actions what they are. As soon as we feel uncertain, we change our actions radically, and I mean radically. Let me give you a scenario that I hope all of us are long past, but we can all remember the absolute utter hell that is revising for exams. Hands up who remembers that at some point in their life, unless unless you were like me and just ducked out of school really early and just went, screw it, I'm getting a job. The first time round I did anyway. I'm currently working through the utter hell of having to remember maths GCSE. My 16-year-old is downstairs right now. I am booked to go and teach her surds any minute. What is a surd? I don't even remember. I don't even remember what a surd is. I've got to do standard form, indices and surds. It's not a comfortable day for mummy today to delve back into that hell. But what is her belief system around exams? She believed for a while she couldn't do it. She believed she'd run out of time. She believed there wasn't any time left. So what happened? Her behaviour changed. What did I see? She stopped trying. I saw multiple avoidance behaviours. And you picture it, the poor kid's just been off for nearly 2 years with COVID disrupting everything. Suddenly they're faced with a block of exams they're not in any way prepared for. What do you think that belief system does to those behaviours? As humans, we are very hardwired. If we take pain and pleasure with a view that we move towards pleasure and we move away from pain, which do you think is strongest? Yeah, you bet your boots it's the pain one. We avoid pain like the plague. We will move twice as fast and twice as far away from pain as we will move towards and closer to pleasure. Why? Because pain can equal death. Pleasure just equals food, sex, breathing. There are certain pleasure centers that get stimulated really easily. The alternative is death, which is a stronger motivator. Now, we've got to think about this logically. When we are in our business and a task ahead of us is causing us a certain level of pain, what do you think we're going to do? Are we going to run towards that? Hell no. We jump ship as fast as we blooming well can, but we kid ourselves. We tell ourselves the story of why we're not doing it over and over again. I'm here to do a bit of myth busting for you today around why we do the things that we do. And yet again, you might be surprised by the answers. But think about that kid revising for their GCSEs. How different is their behaviour going to be if they've grown up being told all the time, every day of their life, you're an A grade student, you're going to ace this, you're going to do really well. Is their behaviour going to be different from someone that's been told, you're never going to amount to anything, these are really hard, these exams are really challenging? Yeah, of course it is. So we've got external perception as part of the puzzle. Is their behaviour going to be different if they've got all the resources in all the world, all their exam books? Not always, because possibility does not equal probability. I'll say that again. Possibility does not equal probability. What you believe is possible is not the same as what you believe is probable. I'm going to help you shift your mindset so that you open up to more probability. And then it becomes more like, yes, please, more. Yes, please, more. Easy. We can start to choose for what is probable. Now, here's the trick. I do a lot of work with some quite type A characters, some quite high achievers. Some of my entrepreneurs are at the sort of multiple 7 figures now, 8 figure, so multi-millions. I work with a lot of people who have already built a business when they come to me and they're building another one. The things that I see are so common, I can't help but call it out. That feeling that you're not enough, that feeling of striving, that feeling of reaching a goal and immediately setting the next one leads to a very successful person, but it doesn't always lead to a happy one. To me, that is not success. To me, alignment, mind, body, soul, that trinity is so vital. It's so vital to feel like you're in alignment and to feel happy while you're doing it. Success without fulfillment is failure. So I'm not the coach that's going to tell you to push through the pain barriers, keep doing it anyway. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I think it's actually quite dangerous. And I think people that do that maybe aren't as trauma informed as they'd like to believe. And I think we need to be aware that we can hurt ourselves with our businesses. Hands up, 3 times pneumonia in hospital here. I know that we can hurt our bodies and our minds with our business success or failure. I'm here for the business that's good for you, that's good for the world, and good for your clients. I think that's really important. So I'll caveat everything I'm about to say with that's my frame, that's where I come from. And if that resonates with you, come towards me, come and spend more time in my circle, come and spend more time in my Facebook group, The Sisterhood, because this is where I play, this is my space, and I bloody love it. I know not everyone thinks like that. So when we think about thinking, what we're thinking about is actually how we feel. So I want you right now to pick up your pen, and just before we go into this last space, write down something that you know you could have been doing, but you've been putting off. To be really honest, pick up one thing that you know you could have been doing. And notice the word I'm very deliberately using here. You could have been doing. I'm not saying should. I'm saying that you could have been doing. Why? Because you've chosen not to. Taxes. Oh, I'm with you, Alexandra. So there's always something that you could have allocated the time for, but you've chosen not to, and I'm going to explain more. Success without fulfillment is failure. That thing didn't make you feel fulfilled. It didn't make you feel the right feelings, so you haven't taken the action. We are going to work out why now. And I'm going to give you this in a really solid format so that you understand it. Monthly budget review. I think we call that a spending plan, don't we, Shirley? I think that is a thing that we would rather do. I'd rather write a spending plan or a shopping list. That's way more fun. Rotary accounts, says Archie. Oh, Archie, that is a thing of pain right there, isn't it? Yep. So all these things you're not doing because of how they're making you feel. So let's have a look at our flow states. Let's see why this is. So I use different terminology to explain, and actually, let me just quickly double check here. I just want a quick show of hands. Either you can click the reactions button and put a hand up, or you can physically raise your paw if you're on screen with me. If you're watching on Team Replay, the reason to do this is I just want to read the room so that I know who I'm talking to. So this doesn't exclude you if you're Team Replay. Welcome, welcome. But this is just to give me a feel of what sort of percentage. How many here know what their profile is in either talent dynamics, wealth dynamics, or similar, something like DISC, Prism, or something like it's either my big cat business brains. Good. Okay, so we're looking at about roughly from the reactions and the physical hands about 20%. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to talk in that context then. So those of you that have been profiled, we'll just do a quick catch up for everyone else. And those of you that haven't been profiled, what I'm talking about is really bloody important. So if you haven't done it yet, come at me and I'll set you up with a profile. This is an awesome tool to use. They're all the tools in all the world these days. We've got about, I think, I'm trained in 5 different profiling systems, including my own. Other things are Myers-Briggs, DISC, Prism, HBDI, and Insights are the ones that I'm personally very familiar with. I'm a flow consultant with talent dynamics and wealth dynamics. I'm also a peak performance consultant. So there's lots of different. The thing that I've learned, guys, is they all sit on the same brain. Doesn't matter what your profile type's called. So I'm going to talk about the types. To do that, I've taken them out of the terminology of the profiles you might know, and I use the big cats. Why? Because there's no such thing as a bad big cat. So you are either going to be the cheetah brain, which is the 70 miles an hour or stop, that churning away, the speed. You're always about innovation. You're about that understanding of the significance of your idea and the significance of you for creating it. It's a visual modality where you're always seeing something before it even exists. You can visualize it, and you're an interesting mix, a foot in both camps of the introvert and the extrovert. So you can talk, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I'm done. I think I need to go and lie in a darkened room. I'm going to have a little rest, because you suddenly run out of gas because you've used up all your people tokens for the day. Now, the cheetah brain is the one at the start of the business cycle. So they're the spring of the group. They're that high energy that starts a project rolling, but they won't necessarily follow through unless they've got a team around them, because they'll have 3 brilliant ideas in the shower every morning, but then get a bit bored by the time they get to. So we're going to talk about the challenges for each profile type. You might be the lion type. So the lion is around that people side of the quadrant. The lion is all about the pride. We talk together, sleep together, eat together, hunt together. We raise our kids together. You might have guessed I've got a large proportion of both of these running wild in my body and brain, because it's all about collaboration and connection. We're auditory processes, so our voices have a lot of cadence, pitch, pace, and tone, and we use words like, I hear what you're saying, listen to this. We get excited by storytelling, we get excited by rhythm of voice, and we're pure extroverts. So I can talk all day like this. I'm not having to imagine you naked. This is my sweet spot. I'm really happy here doing this job. I'm a speaker by trade as well. I talk at conferences around the world. That is fine for me because this is my modality. You might be a leopard brain. This is where the energy comes a bit lower. They just feel certain ways and they're really in touch with their body, and you can't push them. Don't push them, because they're all about the fair deal for everybody. This is our earth energy. So whereas the cheetah is our spring, the lion is our summer, the leopard is now coming into that autumn. If all is safely gathered in, they want to feel the connection between things. They need context. They can't design from a blank sheet of paper. They want to know, what do I do next? Tell me what's next. When's it got to be done by? And then we've got the mighty tiger. The tiger is that slow, steady padding towards the goal. The tiger is all about the data, the process. So this is our winter. The ground looks dead and flat and bare, but there's a lot going on underneath the surface. They're perceived as cold. They're not, they're just risk averse. Their value is their pessimism. So they're an auditory digital processor. They're listening, but they're not hearing your small talk. They're hearing your bullet points. They want your data. Tell me the facts. Pure introvert. My business partner is almost a pure tiger brain. Luckily, he's mixed with some cheetah, so he doesn't club me over the head when I talk too much. But he's got that lockdown on the back end of the business. I don't have to touch anything tech, as Duncan and I were discussing before you guys came online. When you learn what profile type you are, you learn what to leave alone. You learn what to get away from. Because here's the thing. Some of your procrastination will be because it's painful. Yes, you can do it. You can do it. However, should you do it is what I want to bring you to today as a thought process. So look, here's the deal. We're all around this grid, and this is the Talent Dynamics grid. I use that one as I'm guessing most of you will know these badges. We all do something different. So if you think about it, Beyonce's the star. She stands out front and sings loudly. But does she do all the other bits? No, of course not. She may not even write her own lyrics. She might have a creator to do that, along with her set designer and her choreographer. She will have a supporter in the form of her manager, who's got the arm around the shoulders. Come, girl, you can do it. She's got a deal maker that's the agent out there brokering we want 42 million to play at Birmingham or whatever. There will be a trader that is the merchandiser. They need to organise the timing. If I'm getting the design back from the printers on this date in order to send the order to Shanghai for them to create it and ship it back so it's on the stand in Birmingham, ready to sell as a printed mug or a poster or a t-shirt or a bag. So that's the trends, the volumes, the timing. They're in control of that. Does Beyonce need to put her hands on that? No. She's the star. Why should she? That's not her flow state. Would she procrastinate the hell if given all those tasks to do? Probably yes. So once we know our flow state, so just to continue around the grid for those of you in other chairs, the accumulator is like the banker, the accountant that tots up all the things, the treasurer. There you go, there's your rotary reports in there, Archie. But this is the treasury role where you're holding things safe and checking, do all the numbers add up? Have we got enough to do the next tour? Are we still making £1 billion squillion or whatever they do these days when they tour? Then we've got the Lord who sits there running the whole show. We'll put Beyonce on bus number 1. We'll put the drummer on bus number 2. They're never as important. We'll put the manager on bus number 1 to have the arm around the shoulders. They are the ones that are refining the process the whole time. And then there's the mechanic that optimizes everything. They're the ones sorting out the lighting rig and the sound desk and they're organizing the pieces of the overview that the creationist has. So when we look at it from this point of view, we can see very easily, where might I procrastinate? Answer, anywhere that's not in flow. Anywhere that's on the backside of your grid. For this person, that will be the people tasks. This person profiles as a Lord. This is a client of mine. I love her. She is a very senior veterinary surgeon, and she is building her beautiful, beautiful hospital. She's given me permission to use her grid because it's so classically angled in one direction. Look at this. We've got almost double the amount of steel than we have at the Tempo and the Dynamo on her other flares. So she's what we'd call a triple dominant, where she can have 3 areas that she can work in. The one that she shouldn't stay any time in is the blaze quadrant. Now, this is what's really fascinating, because Emily looks on the surface to be a pure blaze, so what I'd call a lion personality. She's so friendly, she's so warm. She gets drained by those face-to-face consults that vets do, another one every 15 minutes. So by putting her into the management seat, where she's managing an entire practice, she's going to get back in her flow state. The Lord runs the show. Behind every big bank and law firm, there's a room full of lords sitting there going, right, you go over here, you do that. So when we know why we procrastinate, we can start to get really clever. So this person will probably be dodging the tasks around, again, the people, but also look, this time around the timing and the trends and the volumes. They're not going to be as strong there. So what does it look like? Let's again talk broad brush terms rather than the specific profiles to give you. And guys, if you want more depth on this, I'm actually running a masterclass for free on Thursday night, 8 p.m. UK time, on exactly this, where I'll be going deeper dive into this and giving you a fantastic tool to take away with you totally free. There's one that I get paid a lot of money to go into corporates and train them on. So if you want to come along to that, you just need to, Rob, can you put a link to that in the chat? You just need to join my Facebook group, which is the Sisterhood for Alpha Entrepreneurs, because I'll be running live in there from 8 p.m. onwards UK time. So if this is exciting you, if your brain's beginning to fire off and you're going, oh my God, I'm getting this now, come along to that, because I'll be going deeper into this piece that I'm just about to touch on briefly here. So for the cheetah, what does it look like? Cheetahs are fast. So if you profile as high dynamo, if you profile as red in insights, if you profile as D in disc, all mean the same thing. You hate repetition. You hate tasks that mean you have to go back and do things again. If you hate the thing that you've already done and you've put it down and someone says, oh, can you tell me that again? Oh, how annoying. And in answer to Paola's question, is it possible to be 50% cheetah and 50% lion? Welcome, Paola. I am that person. I am I think I'm 36% lion and about 40% cheetah. So yes, absolutely. You'll be a blend of all of these, but you'll be something of each. It's very rare that I get a 0%. It does happen occasionally. I'm a deal maker and I low the count, says Archie. Yeah, that's probably because of your balance though, Archie. We all have the ability to do everything, but if you're a triple dominant, for example, you will probably be more comfortable in other things. Thank you, Rob. The link's now in the chat for those that want the deeper dive on this that I'll be doing on Thursday night. You are all very welcome to join the Facebook group for that piece, but I'm also doing some others in the next month that might be fun to you as well. Peter, I'm a Blaze supporter, yes. So that means where you are in your zone, you're going to be really comfortable doing certain tasks and not so much the other ones. So back to our cheetah. So we hate that slow pace. They hate having to go back and fix stuff that's in the past because they're introvert and extrovert. Sometimes when they've run out of gas, so we think about our tolerance as well. If you do a task too much that's slightly out of your flow state, it will get exhausting. So for me, for example, I can do creation tasks, I can do people tasks, but if I do too much of either, because I'm directly balanced between the two, either one can exhaust me. I still come to the end of my rope. Lions, as we go round to the lion side, they hate disconnection. So guess what happens if you've got someone that's really good at sales, but they are a lion at heart? They'll start loving it for the connection. Then they realise that for every one yes, it takes about 19 no's. So it's like going through the process of being fundamentally out of flow 19 times for only one in flow state until they make it mean something different. So they begin to procrastinate in sales. I usually get brought in to train a sales team when they've recruited a load of lions because the recruiting manager is a lion. They see the lion tendencies in the people they're recruiting. They're, oh, this person's just like me, forgetting that they're now off the phones. They're not doing the cold calling anymore. So they're loving sales because they're no longer faced with rejection. For those people that are on the ground, rejection after rejection after rejection, they start being less effective. So the strategy for that sort of company is recruit more steel. They don't care about rejection. They care about numbers. They care about data. Bang the phones all day. And these are the really interesting little nuances that you can begin to bring when you start to understand this stuff. So these guys love variety. They will start to procrastinate more if they feel too pinned down, if they feel too hemmed in. Duncan's been hagging me for months to write a list of all the things that I'm going to be talking about. I haven't done it. Why? Because it then pins me to a ball. And I then go a bit like, oh, do I have to commit now? Can't I just get excited in the week about what I'm talking about? I finally buckled, only because of Rob pinning me to the wall and go, give me the details now. Duncan needs them now. And I had to sit there and write my list of them. So you now have a calendar from me of the next 6 months of talks. So these are things that once we understand which bits of ourselves are holding ourselves back, we can start to be really deadly efficient, guys. Because I know about my need for variety, I can now play myself like a fiddle. I can now work out how to build that into my daily life so I still feel stimulated and excited. So just carrying on around the grid, the leopard hates unannounced change. It hates a break of a promise or a lack of info flow. So the procrastination beast raises its head here where they feel something is not fair or they feel something is out of alignment with them. Again, we're back to that mixture of introvert and extrovert. If you are a leopard, you need to have a constant drip feed. My personal assistant, Sophie, who saves my life every day, is a beautiful leopard brain. She's also got a triple dominant, so she's equally round in the steel quadrant and in the blaze quadrant. So she's a lion, a leopard, and a tiger, all blended beautifully together. But I have to be aware of that when I'm looking after her. And I do feel like it is looking after. I don't ever use the word manage because I'm not managing somebody. I'm looking after their flow. That's my privilege as the leader of our little team TAME, to look after the flow states of people. So I know for her, I must keep my word. I must not break a promise with her. I must do what I've said I'm going to do. Classic example, yesterday I said, I'm going to record that free piece that I said I'd do for students. She went, you said you did that last week. And I could hear the hurt in her voice. And I was like, yeah, I was very busy. And then I'm trying to justify why I've broken my word with her, because she is let down by the fact that I haven't. So we start to procrastinate as a leopard when we feel like something's going south, something's not fair. Tigers are very different. Tigers are so risk averse. They procrastinate because their need for safety and certainty and security is bigger than their need for progress. They are happy with a slow, steady progress towards the goal. So, for example, Rob, my business partner, needs to be absolutely version done. I just need version 1 so I can crack on. My Cheetah brain is going, give me something. I need the next piece. Give me the next piece. He's like, it's not done yet. So I'm like, okay, we've got a compromise here. Give me where you're at, and then we can work on the changes together. Because otherwise he will hold back, because it needs to be version done for him to feel like he's in flow. So I have to manage that relationship around my need for speed, my need to be, I've got to get this graphic out to people today when I'm about to launch a new masterclass. So this is all the balance and the nuance where it begins to get really exciting. The one thing I want to pull this together with, guys, is the difference between motivate and inspire is really, 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 really vital. We procrastinate when we have to motivate ourselves. And again, I'm going to do a much deeper dive into this, so forgive me if this is a surface skim today to leave enough time for any questions at the end. We procrastinate when we are having to push ourselves. When we feel we are moving towards pain, we cannot move as freely. When we are having to plead with ourselves, come on, you're not stupid, you can do this. Come on, just get. When we're in that stage, it's very different from when we are moving from pure, lit up from within inspiration. Inspire comes from the Latin word to inflame, to blow into. When we feel inspired rather than motivated, it lasts forever. Motivation is conditional. I'll say that again because this is really important. Motivation is conditional. I will be motivated if. Sometimes it's bribery. I remember revising for finals at Cambridge. I literally hid gummy bears between the pages of my notes to motivate me to turn the next page. Oh, another gummy bear. Because I was so pathetically out of flow, because it's a very tiger task to revise screeds of data. I'm not that person. Again, I could do it, but should I? I could do it, but it drained me. I could do it, but I nearly had a breakdown over it. I hope you're getting where this is going. We can do all the things, but it's how it makes you feel. We are all capable of doing all the things on that grid, but it's how it makes you feel. So what I want for you, what I desperately want for all of the people that I work with, what I want for anyone that I'm lucky enough to go in and train, anyone that I'm lucky enough to speak to, is this stage where you can just suggest to yourself that something would be beneficial, and then you are in complete alignment. That trinity that I mentioned earlier, that mind, body, soul, are in complete alignment, so that all you need to do is define your task, and then it's point and shoot. Because all you need to do is direct yourself, literally point yourself at the target. So for example, talking about procrastination, there is no motivation required for me to turn up here today and talk to you. I'm so excited to share this knowledge and this perspective of this psychophysiology that I know is so effective, this cognitive neuroscience that when applied can catapult you. My business went up 300% when I learned this stuff, like overnight. When I put these pieces together, it was back in 2001, it shot up from July to September. I can tell you that because I remember it so clearly. I've got the figures from that time. And these pieces, when you go click, suddenly can absolutely change your terrain. So I just want to I'm going to pull up the last slide just to remind you, results come from your actions, but your actions come from your emotions, from how you feel about it. Remember that little GCSE student that I've got sitting downstairs feeling rubbish about exams in general until we flick those switches and make it feel totally different. Suddenly we see different behaviors, right? We see different behaviors when the same input, those footsteps upstairs, have a different meaning, because your emotions come from your thinking. But we have to remember this cognitive diversity. We've got these 4 different brain types, these 4 big cats running wild. If you haven't done a profile yet, I'll urge you to do that as your next step. Don't make this the end of your journey. Make it the start. Make this the beginning of you understanding yourself so deeply that your business just begins to fly, because there is something joyous about building a business that serves you and serves the world. And I wish that for everybody. I wish that for all of you here live. I wish that for Team Replay. I'm going to stop my share now and come back to the chat box and just check that I haven't missed any questions. Yes, Paola, I'd love to see you there. Come along. Details in the events tab, says Rob. Oh, fantastic. That is good. That is good. So click on the link in the chat, which is the Sisterhood of Entrepreneurs, and I will see you in there Thursday at 8. Peter saying, my life changed dramatically since December 2021 till now, being a freelance tourist guide, and then January 22, being diagnosed with late onset ataxia, a neurological condition without a cure. Yeah, ataxia is a hugely disruptive. That's cerebellum, isn't it? Where your movements differ from your plan versus your actual. And Peter saying that's exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you, Peter. That makes me happy in my little lion heart. Duncan saying, please do join the circle. Yes, good point, Duncan. Thank you for reminding everyone. If you're not in my circle, you won't know when I'm next going live. I go live every month on the 3rd Tuesday of every month, but please join the circle so that you get notified in the circle. Then I can keep up to date with you in there with my new shiny calendar that Duncan's just built for me. This is so important to take back into the environments that you work in. And yes, Heather, you do need a team. We cannot do this on our own. Beyonce cannot be Beyonce on her own. All we might see is Beyonce standing up sparkly and spingly on stage. There is an entire team making that appearance happen. We all need a team. My job as a coach, getting entrepreneurs up that up ramp quickly enough so they're at those 5K months so they can start hitting the team targets, because doing this on your own is no fun. Doing this with a team where everyone's in flow, you're providing joy for other people to live in their flow state. I know that when I give Sophie a task that is leopard brain, not only am I saving myself all of that flack and having to go into leopard mode, I'm gifting her the ability for her to go deep into her flow state. She is amazing at those leopard tasks. I am rubbish at them. Give me a spreadsheet, I will break it for you. So we need to get to this point where we begin to understand what flow looks and feels like. So thank you for listening. I am here to help you, supporter extraordinaire, says Heather. I'm here to help you with any questions that have arisen from this, either now or in the circle. I'll be in there later today, but I'm happy to take any questions now. If anyone's got something they want to clarify or something that I went through quite quickly that they want a bit more detail on, we've got, how long have we got, Duncan? Oh, 8 whole minutes. This is a miracle for me. This is good. I finished before the hour, so we've actually got time for some questions. So feel free, if you want to put your hand up, I can see those reaction buttons. You don't have to be on screen. I'm not a militant about that at all. You're very welcome to keep your cameras off, or you can type into the chat box and you can just drop a question in there. I'm just going to scroll back and make sure I haven't missed anyone higher up. Thanks, Libby and team. We need a team on and off the field and back home. You are not wrong there, Heather. And by the way, full disclosure for anyone that hasn't met me before, I'm a single mum, so I know so much about the power of team because I've had to build one. You try getting a 7-year-old to unload the dishwasher on purpose. There is no pleasure in that for them. I've had to build that pleasure in. I've had to make pleasurable the things that normally would be called a chore. And that is part of building a team, of getting people to the point where they actually enjoy, where they gain pleasure from it, where they're inspired by it, where they are understanding the pleasure that they get and the team get. It's on Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time, Kathy. Time zone I'm in, I think, is BST, so that's UK summertime, which current time right now is just heading to 4 p.m. So the 4 p.m. now, so it's 4 hours later than now on Thursday. Heather's saying, I'm a world champion in lacrosse. Oh, that's so interesting. I want to play in a world champion team in business. Yeah, the phrase that I love, Heather, is make your business world class. Make yourself world class first, though. When we lead from heart, when we lead from alignment, when we lead from a place of ownership, You don't have to fake anything. You also don't have to sell. I no longer think of what I do as sales because I'm so confident in what I do. It's service. I put it out there. People that want it come towards me. You become magnetic. You don't have to, and I do a whole course in this, you don't have to fight. It gets to be easy and it gets to be done with grace and with flow because you genuinely are serving. Paola's saying, many thanks, Libby. There's so much noise and fluff online. You're the real deal, delivering amazing knowledge and content. Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Great time investment. Many thanks and keep up the excellent work. I really hope so. And I hope this comes across that I do this from a place of service because I love it and because I want everyone to elevate to the next level. And by doing so, I don't see that I earn any less. I think we all earn more, which I think is so lovely, is that together we rise. We can do this together. We can align our values into a place of service and doing it with honour and really enjoy this game. This doesn't have to be snake oil salesman. So I'm really glad that you've got good value. Thank you, Paola. That's lovely. I hope to see you Thursday. So anyone else got anything they want to add or anything they want to ask before we close? And if you're on Team Replay, do feel free to drop into the circle and ask a question there. I will cover this off for the next 24 hours as well for anyone there. No, I think we are good. Duncan.
Yep, I didn't spot anything else that you've missed. So if nobody wanted to unmute or drop any questions, I think we're all done here. Now, yeah. Guys, I dropped in the link for Libby's circle. I'm going to drop it in just the once more, if you will allow me. If nobody's joined that circle, it's absolutely essential that you do. We're here the third Tuesday of each month at the same time. So please do join the circle, stay in touch with the community, and all the details of the next call and the topic and all the rest of it are right there in the circle.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Quinta. Lovely to meet you all that are new to me. I hope to see you back here. And I'm on Thursday in the group, and a month this Tuesday, next month in June for our next session, which Duncan can now tell you what that is from the shiny calendar in the circle, which is posted up there, isn't it, though?
Absolutely. It is, like I said, it's the third Tuesday of the month, which is 21st of June, same time, 3 p.m. London time.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful day. Love you all.
Thanks, Libby. Thanks, everyone. See you.